All right, ready? Yeah, go.
All right, so look, before we get started, I think I want to clear up last week.
Okay.
Right? Because you kept asking me a question. My brain was kind of in the fog, and I don't think I was fully getting your question.
Yeah.
But last week, and I've made this point for a couple months.
Yeah.
So last week, I said that I think we have the ability in this country as citizens to slow inflation.
Yeah.
Right? If we could curb our spending and our waste.
Yeah.
And the idea is we need to learn to live at or below our means.
Yeah.
And you kept asking me to define like who I was talking about.
Yeah.
Because I was speaking on a very broad spectrum.
Yeah.
And I didn't really understand your question because I think the idea, I thought I was already answering it.
Yeah.
Because the concept of living at or below your means really translates to every classification.
Right.
Right?
Right.
Now, are there people who already do this?
Yeah.
100%.
That have to.
That have to do it, or that already do it.
Yeah.
Right? And all from the top to the middle to the bottom.
Yeah.
But if you look at this country as a whole, we're not doing that.
Yeah.
We have a spending and a waste problem. It's fact. We have $887 billion in credit card debt.
Yeah.
Right? Look at our food supply.
Yeah.
Right? We're talking about food.
Yeah.
Right? Neither one of us, I think, really realized how bad the food situation is in this country. Everybody is talking about, everybody's bitching about the supply and the cost of food right now.
I mean, yeah, dude, it's crazy.
But the one thing nobody's talking about is the amount of food that's wasted in this country. And that's a major issue. If you look at the food in this country, 40% of the food in this country is wasted.
Yeah.
And the majority of it comes at the consumer level.
Yeah.
Right? So we literally are complaining about the supply and about the cost, but we're wasting food. So if you take the concept of spending and waste, and we all just went to the grocery store and said, you know what? I'm going to go and I'm only going to buy what I can essentially.
What a week
or a day.
Well, isn't it back in this is, I don't mean to cut you off.
No, you're fine.
I think this was back in the day. Like my parents talk about this is you would go to the grocery store in the afternoon and pick up what you need for the next 2 days. And it was like a progressive thing. You would go to the local market and you'd pick up milk or you'd pick up eggs, you'd pick up the meat or whatever. It was not, you typically didn't shop a week ahead of time, right? Like I think that's something that started with our the generations that got further and further away from the original product.
So if we all went to the grocery store and we just said, I'm going to buy just what I know I can eat, just enough
for the week or whatever it is.
Are some people doing that? 100% people are doing that, but a lot of people aren't doing that.
Yeah.
Right. So obviously that's a fact because we have 40% waste, and the majority of it comes at the consumer level.
Yeah.
Right. So if we go and we just focus on buying what we can eat, right, and we're able to put 30-40% of the food supply that's wasted back on the shelves.
Yeah.
What's that going to do? That's going to effectively increase the supply, and we hope that that's going to reduce the cost. So again, I don't know if I'm right or wrong about this, but I keep coming back to the fact that I've always blamed outside interests for everything.
Yeah.
I've always been cynical of the government. I've always been cynical of the media, and I think we all need to look at ourselves in the mirror and say, what can we do? Like the John F. Kennedy. I think, right? Ask not what your country could do for you, ask what you could do for your country.
Yeah.
So again, am I right or wrong? I have no idea, but we have a major spending problem in this country. I mean, retail sales, which I follow because I'm in real estate or in commercial real estate, retail sales, now this is non-discretionary, right?
Yeah.
So our discretionary spending, retail sales, we all think should be down. They were up 9% year over year.
Yeah.
So people are still fucking spending.
Well, but
it's crazy.
But what's crazy, I think, about that is it's more online though, right? It's convenience now. It's the convenience factor of I can go online and buy the same product and I don't have to walk through that. But I did say what was scary just about in general about that. Now again, this is me with my ADHD brain. But I think shopping malls are a thing that are going away, and now you see more of those. You see strip malls where you can go, you can pick which one you can. You don't have to go into a full mall to go to the store. You can, and I seen big retailers moving out of malls, and going to strip malls because they go, no one wants to come in here to just come to our store, so we'll just put a location here, and they might pay more money for that location, but they're willing to do it because they're like, we're going to get more foot traffic now.
Well, see, what they're doing is back in the day, you wanted a department store because obviously there was more foot traffic. a lot of them are going to these smaller storefronts.
Yeah.
And then they are going and buying a warehouse, a fulfillment center somewhere else because of the online component.
Yeah.
Which online shopping is a lot, but it's not what everybody thinks. I mean, it's not.
Do you think that, like, so, I mean, because we're right around the corner, okay?
Yeah.
We're right around the corner from the busiest time, I guess retailers' biggest time of the year. Do you think this is, what do you think the percentage of, like, online to, like, in person? Because here's the thing.
I think it's like 10. I think it makes up 10%.
Really?
I think. You have to look at that up.
But you know what's crazy?
But it's not as much as we think, because I know. Look it up. Let's look it up.
But
I don't like to tell people. That's why I kept going back last week to the credit card thing. I was like, I know we're in credit card debt, but I don't have the numbers. So I don't want to spout off stuff that's not factual.
But you know what's crazy to think about, though?
Yeah.
Is like when we think about online, we think about like Cyber Monday being big.
Yeah.
But Black Friday is still the biggest. Like, right? You go out on Black Friday to go shopping to get those deals. And I've noticed just from like my spam mailbox that I have a ton of pre-Black Friday sales. Like the retailers are already pushing it because these are the stuff that they're trying to give away already. They're like, listen, this is going to be, you get this right now.
Okay, so 83% of retail sales still occur in brick and mortar shopping.
Oh, wow.
So it's 17%, and it's actually risen. It's gone from 11% to 14%, but that's going to increase as time goes on because newer generations are buying everything online.
But
so eventually it's going to be more and more.
Are you sure? Because there's still a nostalgia factor to going out. There's still a nostalgic factor of going out to the store and buying that at the store, right? Or having that experience with the family. If you can go out with your family, you know what I mean? We talked this weekend. You and again, I'm sharing a little bit from this weekend. You talked to me about going to Busch Gardens this weekend. And you said the experience with your family you can never top just being with your family. You
can't, man.
You know what I mean? And it's like lines could be long, everything could be hectic, but you're like, it never will get old, right? Yeah. And that's what I mean. Like there's certain things that you'll always remember of our generation going out to the mall, going out to those places. So I think, as long as I can see, now maybe the kids now who aren't probably doing the same tradition as us, that will probably at some point fade.
And you made an excellent point last week. I go back to living above your means, and like there may be somebody who shouldn't be buying a certain level of sneaker or something, but you were like, they want to buy that for their kid because it's important for their kid.
Oh yeah.
So essentially, that want, even though it's a want and not necessarily a need, that want actually is a need because you want to get, and I think I even said this, you want to give your kids something special that they can remember because. At the end of the day, man, the experiences and the memories are more valuable than anything. Yeah. So somebody is scrimping and scraping to give that kid something they desperately want. Yeah. You know what I mean? And so I really feel like sometimes your wants are a need in that perspective. Unfortunately, these kids are being programmed to think that, and we were too. We were too. Yeah. Essentially, every generation I think gets worse. That they need these things to make themselves cool. Yeah. And we got to figure out a way to get beyond that. And again, like it's all of us. We're still like that. So.
It's programmed. Well, here's the difference: is our programming was TJIF. It was on the TV. Yeah. You could turn it off. There was There was a button to turn it off. Now. Social media, you can't turn it off. There is program marketing. When I leave here, whatever we talk about, if I go pull up Facebook, if I go pull up any social media, it will literally have an ad for what we're talking about. If we're talking about the NFL, we're talking about Busch Gardens, we're talking about it'll be all of these things will pop up in my feed, right?
Dude,
because
we left here yesterday and I got hit not yesterday, it seems like yesterday, last week, and I got hit up with Michael Myers mask. Like every single retarget on Facebook was Michael Myers mask, Michael Myers mask.
Well, so it's listening to you. So
it's crazy.
Again, they're trying to get. Last night I was like Peacock. I was watching the game on the Peacock app, and it was funny because it said, "Do we have the right to share your information with the NFL?" Well, like. It's a little thing at the bottom, and you can barely read it, and it just already says yes. So most people are going to be like, "Screw it, yeah."
Well, they're forcing you to hit the yes button, and even to get into what you want to read.
Yeah,
like they'll stop you halfway through an article, like say, I don't know, whatever you're reading, the Atlantic or the Wall Street Journal, whatever the hell you're reading, I don't know. And they'll be like, if, do you want to continue? If so, you got to accept the cookies. You got to accept
that's what's crazy.
the information. It's fucked up.
Well, and that's why.
Hey, look, you want to start real quick? Because we could really probably just keep going. But let's give them the official intro. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Prop Culture Podcast. I am your host, Matt Trader, and to my left, as always, is the man, Mr. Shane Snoots. And today we're coming to you all again for live from downtown Salisbury, and I think we're going to be talking a little bit about spending, waste, social media's influence on today's culture. Just a plethora of things. We're gonna have a good time as always, but we'll get right back into it. So keep going with what you're saying.
No, I mean, I just the whole aspect of our targeting. They're targeting us every second.
Yeah,
and before it was billboards, before it was we have 30 seconds to catch your attention on a commercial. Now it's like we don't have to because it's repetitive, right?
Yeah.
And if you listen to like any of these speakers who are in, and I've had to sit through some of these like real estate courses, right? Like where it's not even courses, it's like how to be the top of this or whatever.
Yeah.
And like when they talk to you, it's literally what they talk about is programming.
Yeah.
Because they're like, you continually make videos, right? And this is like, I challenge anybody. You go look down your feed and look at all the people in sales. They continually make the same video. Why? Because they're trying to target you to say, when you think of a home sale, it's me. When you think of buying a car, it's me. When you think about doing something, it's me, right? And it's training your brain to do that, right? And that's, they tell you in all these courses, that's what it's all about, is that your brain, the more that you see somebody doing this, the more that you assume that this is, when you think of that thing, you think of them, right? Because, and so that's the thing. That's why you've seen like a craze online on social media of like everyone has a story to tell now.
Yeah.
It's like, hey, by the way, I helped a client. It's everyone, and they tell you write paragraphs, so you have to click to see more, right? To engage on the post, right?
Yeah.
Because if you engage on it, you're I don't know what the percentage is, more likely to then again assume that they are the go-to for that profession.
Yeah.
But that's where I'm like, this has became so much for clout chasing, like where everyone has a story and everyone wants to talk about how great of a deed they've done or something. It's like, dude, who gives a shit? Like I don't. And that's where like I'm the anti. If I see those things, I literally block. I literally will say do not show anymore, because I it's such a turnoff to me to go. And this is a time of year where this is coming up. The time of year where people go spend money on. Hey, I'm out at this. This is a sweepstakes. I just bought all these people toys. It's like, dude, no one needs to see. You know what I mean?
Dude,
like
I literally have been. Like,
does that make sense?
Like, I'm so with you on this. Like, I'm so with you on this. Like, in look, there's a lot of people that do a lot of good, and there's a lot of people that promote the good they do, and I know they're still good people. But I also feel like, and you're basically saying this, that so many people, want to show how much they're giving just to get business. It's like, hey, I gave to charity. Oh, by the way, here's my business card, and I've always lived by, the line that the finest form of giving is anonymous to anonymous.
Yeah.
My grandfather did so many things for people and never told them. A lot of things we didn't even know he did until after he died, because he was like, Mr. Joe promised that if he wouldn't give this to me if I told anybody. Yeah. Right? Because he didn't want anybody to know about it. And nowadays I think the generation is different. But it's funny. It's funny you mentioned this time of year, because there's only one time in my life that I've ever felt wrong about my marketing, and it wasn't. So I did an article years ago to the Metropolitan, right around this time of year. And they were like, hey, you working with them? I was like, yeah, I'm working for like, Toys for Tots or whatever, like trying to help them find a space. Yeah. They're like, oh, we should put that in there. That'd be good. And at the time I was like, yeah, that's good. Right. Afterwards, I was like, man, that just kind of feels like, I didn't do it intentionally, but I felt like it, like everybody else. Hey, look, I'm some philanthropist trying to give. Yeah. And we see this so much. Well, I always tell you that movies have always shaped my life, in movie scenes. And there's one scene from Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade, and I'll never forget this scene. And I think it makes so much sense. When he was looking for the Holy Grail, right? And it was on the boat when he's in that boat chase. And right when he gets off the boat chase, this guy, Cosm, who's one of the Knights Templar, he says to him, ask yourself, why you seek the cup of Christ.
Yeah.
Is it for his glory or yours?
Right.
And I've never forgotten that.
Yeah.
And it's something that it's like, why do people do this? And a lot of times I think the intentions are so great, but I really do feel like a lot of people are just doing this bullshit just to gain business, unfortunately, or to just gain clout, to gain clout.
I think that's what this the newer generation trades in.
Yeah.
They don't trade in real money.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, they don't have that to trade in. So what they trade in is by thinking the perception that what they're doing is above that, right? So I mean, to me, it just doesn't make a lot of sense.
Yeah.
I always try to think about the other, like the families involved in this, like, the angel tree and stuff like that. We do that every year.
Yeah.
It's like, why tell everybody how many kids you've adopted off the angel tree, and then like let's go bust in here and have the video and like of all the people,
right,
like, hey guys, you want to say hi to the camera? Like, it's just that to me is like, it's so corny. It's so like, listen, you can be a giver and be anonymous too, you know what I mean? Because it should be that you want to do that for someone, not that you're seeking the attention for doing that, right? And I think that's the problem is like, and we talk about it all the time, but I think that's the peer pressure of social media. That's the I mean, don't get me wrong. There's always been people that have said, let me get in front of this camera for this charity from the beginning of time, right? The beginning of time.
And look, honestly, I always like to play both sides. I always like to think about it from the other side. And honestly, thinking about it, like in some regard, it's probably good that people do promote giving because it encourages other people to promote.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
But that's what I mean. There's always been that. If you go back to time, there's always been people that go, I believe in this cause.
Yeah.
I do. But I'm going to be in front because I want them to see that I'm here too. I'm sure there's plenty of that, right? And since the beginning of time. But I'm saying what is happening now is like a mockery of shit. Like where it's like,
it's terrible.
People are like, I went to, I just see it all the time. It's like, and I don't even know if the stories are real. Half the stuff, I don't even know if it's real. You know what I mean? Like the sad part is you see a picture online, like they'll snap a picture and then they'll tell a story and you're like, is this just a story that they've made up or is it real?
Yeah.
Is this like, does this person that's on the other side know that they're posting this? Because know, again, if you're taking a picture of like a family or like a kid or in something like that's like, dude, what person would subscribe to that? You know what I mean? Because my heart immediately goes to the family. Like, I'm sure they don't want to know that, like, that people who know, like, hey, this dude's just, this guy or girl is buying me this. It's It's weird. It's so weird to me that we're so fixated on this stuff. And it's like, again, this generation that's coming up has, I feel very, very, very bad for the people who don't get the fact of being, just actually in the moment, living in the moment. Yeah. And listen, if you do a good deed for somebody, no one needs to know. No. You know what I mean? No one needs to know. No one cares to know, right? You know what I mean? Like, I think that's the biggest, like, especially this time of year, dude, there are people that need help. And remember, it's like keeping up with the Joneses. That's why I feel bad. Like, I really do, I will, I'll take the whole staff. My whole staff will we'll do a day at Salvation Army for ringing the bell and stuff like that, And it's because, again, anything that we can do to help, and again, it's because, and I want people to know that we bell ring because the Salvation Army needs bell ringers that they don't have to pay for, right? Yeah. And that's a huge thing for them. Is like, if they get volunteers to cover that hours, that actually helps families, right? So I'm a big proponent of that kind of stuff. But the pressures of social media that applies to those families is those kids have to have something on Christmas Day. I think that every kid should have something, but a pressure of if they see their friend Tommy have all of this and they only have this, well, does Santa not like them? Yeah, you know what I mean? Yeah. And that's where it's like, I mean, that breaks me down as a person because I'm like, that doesn't, but we've applied that pressure as society, where we've made it to where you have to get all of these things, and I mean, again, I'm saying I take credit, or not credit. I take the blame as much as everyone else should.
Yeah.
Because we've created the culture that Christmas is all about gifts and not about family, right? Because that's really what it comes down to. As I've gotten older, I would much rather. I just care about spending my time with my family.
Well, I think as you get older, you start to realize that that's the more important thing. As a kid, it's you're always looking at the shiny object. Because that's especially it's a big time for kids.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
But that's why I'm saying we put the emphasis. It started with us.
Yeah.
As our parents were like, let's get, do you want he wants the Tonka truck. He wants the, the big wheel, this and that. So those things it started with us. So then naturally, what do? Do the same thing. But before, if you ask them what their Christmas was, it was dinner.
Yeah.
It was.
It goes back to the Depression too, because our grandparents were coming off. They were basically the generation that was coming off the Depression. They didn't have a lot,
right?
So they had to save. And then our parents were the kids of those kids. And then they probably didn't get they were getting a little bit more than their parents.
Yeah.
But then they wanted to give us more.
Yeah.
Than they had.
That's what I'm saying. So it's naturally,
and then naturally it's progressive. But now it's out of control.
That's what I'm saying. We're the reason why it's out of control. Now, again, I don't take, I'm the anti-social media guy. I don't believe in I just don't think there is anything to post on, especially when it comes to giving, especially when it comes to receiving. I'm with you on that, man.
I've always,
it's
that's
like
a big,
those things to me are not, and they tell you, I know that the sad part is the marketing gurus, okay? Gurus.
Oh, they tell you to do that.
They tell you to post this stuff because it's supposed to be, again, forefront. When you think about me, think that I'm a giving person too, right? I'm a giver.
Well, everybody wants to be. The thing about it, man, it's the Bruce Wayne syndrome.
Yeah.
Who's basically the biggest superhero movie in the last 20, 30 years? Batman, right? So, and what was Bruce Wayne considered? Philanthropist.
Yeah.
Right. So it's become cool to be philanthropist. So everybody thinks they're a fucking philanthropist.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh yeah.
And it's like you can be that without people really knowing that.
Well, and there are tons of people that do that already in our community, and that give, and they do not. You would never know anything else. Yeah. I just speak from a broad spectrum of
you and I are so on the same page on that.
But it's actually frustrating to see, and that's why I said it's not. And this ties into everything that you were saying though, previously. The pressures from society now for kids to feel loved by their parents, and for a parent to be a good parent.
Yeah.
They have to do those things.
Yeah.
And they have to leverage their future. They have to leverage their day-to-day life. And I think that's a part of no one really understands. And again, I can't really speak to it, but you don't understand how much they probably go through in a day.
Yeah.
To think about working, if they work, 8 hours, 10 hours, 13-hour days, and then really they don't care about anything that has to do with them. They've given up that because they're trying to give their kid something.
Yeah.
And that's all you can ever hope for a kid, and I know some,
honestly, man, that's a lot of really only you can hope for as a parent. I mean, that you have parents that are willing to do what it takes to to try and make their kids happy and have great experiences.
Yeah.
The problem is we just need to start to convey more about what's really important. And it's not always necessarily material things, and it's not always having to make $10 million or $100 million or be a billionaire. It's like you mentioned something a minute ago, and it's like there's so much pressure on people to have to keep driving, and it goes back to the influencers. How many influencers do you get on? And I know I'm on it constantly when I'm scrolling. It's like every single one of these people are like, you can't let up, you can't relax, you can't chill, you got to keep going, 10 toes down, like you said, you got to keep pushing. But I think we've created a lot of anxiety in this country because we're forcing people to keep moving forward, and we're not encouraging anybody to just stop, relax, smell the roses, appreciate what they have, because everybody's been made to feel like if you're not a billionaire, you're not successful, and that's bullshit.
But what's life worth living if you're not living?
That's
right. And I think that's the fucked up part is, man, when you're not living life, you're living life to be something that you don't, that most of these people aren't that.
Yeah.
They aren't that. But this is what they've been programmed to think is cool.
Well,
right?
it sells right now. I mean, you get a lot of followers from that type of rhetoric right now. Everybody's trying to figure out how they can, you know.
If you're not, listen, my biggest thing is in life, I don't, you know, again, I don't ever want to have regrets. You know, we've all had them in our life. But the older I get, you know, we talk about time. Time is the most valuable thing. Money is not the most valuable thing. Money does not trade like time because time you can never get back. Yeah. Right? So if you're willing to trade your time for whatever it is, if it's money, whatever your desire is, understand what you're leaving behind. Yeah. Understand what you're neglecting. Understand what, you know, you're not living for. Yeah. So I think that for time, if you're going to trade time for money, guess what? That's the worst trade ever. Yeah. That's the worst trade ever.
I'm with you, man. I did a whiskey sessions on this
because
like a year ago.
You're gonna at some point you're gonna burn out. Yeah. At some point, I don't care. And the people say there is no such thing as burnout. There is just it's recomping, it's reforming, it's whatever. Yeah. Dude, it is burnout. Yeah. You mentally have to find happiness somewhere other than money. It's the same reason why gamblers are degenerate gamblers and they can't stop. Yeah. Because guess what? They won $10,000 last week on the big game. Well, now they're back at the casino and they need to win. If they win $10,000, it's not the same. Yeah. Because they've already done it. So now they have to win $15,000 or they don't feel the same. Yeah. So the rush is bigger. So they have to keep putting bigger bets down and they keep getting in a hole. And that's why you see people, I mean, you see it all the time. It's the same thing. It's with any addiction. And money is an addiction at the end of the day.
You ever seen Two for Money with Matthew McConaughey and Al Pacino?
Why does that sound familiar?
It's about the gambler, the handicappers of like the 80s.
No, I don't think I've seen it.
Yeah, no. Like you should watch that movie because he talks about how like a real gambler's only what every real gambler is whatever addicted gambler, their real feeling they're chasing is actually a loss. And they don't really feel alive unless they take that big loss. You should watch it. Yeah, I won't go much further into it, but it's a great movie because I grew up around those handicapper shows on Home Team Sports and stuff as a kid, and it's so spot on.
But I mean, think about it. It's with anybody who has an issue with that kind of stuff, with whatever you're chasing. Yeah. Whatever that is. Yeah. And again, I mean that in any form. How much you had before is never enough. Yeah. So you have to chase for more. Yeah. So at what point are you happy? Yeah. At what point do you find happiness? Because if happiness is what you're searching for, then that's defined differently. Yeah. And you can't define that with money, right? You have to define that with what's around you, right? That makes you happy, right? And you say your family is what makes you happy. So happiness is defined by having time with my family. So I think that's where a lot of these people are not, very transparent online about like, oh, I got a Lambo, I got a whatever, I got this, I got a car. People are willing, kids are willing to leverage their credit cards and their futures to look like they're keeping up with the Joneses. Yeah.
No wonder, man. You watch these YouTube shows, and every one of these kids, like from Mr. Beast to Unspeakable to all these real popular YouTube shows, you probably don't know who I'm talking about. But my kids watch all these. Dude, perfect. They're all driving the Lambos.
Mr. Beast.
Yeah, Mr. Beast is like he's the number one YouTuber like in the world.
He's a real guy. Okay.
Yeah, no, Mr. Beast is like the number one YouTuber. A real dude. Yeah, he's bigger than real dude. I mean, he's huge.
How are you older than me and then Mr. Beast?
Because of my kid. Because of my kids. My kids watch all these things, and like my kids are just like, oh, I need a Lambo. Like, remember you were over my house after WrestleMania, and Monroe's like, I want a Rolex or I want this and I want that. But the problem is a lot of these kids feel like they're just entitled to have these things without having to work for it. Like my kids want to play baseball, right? And my son's like wants to play baseball, but he doesn't want to go out and practice. And then when we get done with a game, like I'm like I'll tell him, hey, you did good on this, but I'm always critiquing him. Yeah. And then I'll praise, man, such and such had a really good hit. Such and such did this. He's like, well, you're always complimenting them and not me. I'm like, son, I'm going to be real with you. Yeah. Like, if you want to be better, you have to work. If you don't, you want to come out here and just socialize, that's fine. But you can't expect to be as good as these other kids who are putting in 7 days a week practice, travel ball, and all this other stuff if you're not willing to put the work in.
Yeah.
But it's that everybody gets a trophy generation that we've created.
That's
that's gonna lead more and more to people thinking they can they want these things but aren't willing to put the work in.
Well, that's
that leads to a society that spends too much and doesn't produce enough because they're not productive.
Well,
right?
I think I think the biggest thing is too, like, if you're not willing to put the effort in, the effort is when here's the thing, it's easy to show up when everyone's watching.
Yeah, exactly.
It's easy. It's hard when no one's watching you to do the right thing.
Yeah.
Right? It's hard to go, that's the one thing I learned early on just about being in business. It was like, no one's going to hold your hand. No one's going to, you don't punch a time clock, right?
Yeah.
So you have to be the one, you have to be a self-starter. So it was always funny to me. I could always tell when the head of the sales department wasn't in the office because half the agents wouldn't be there.
Yeah.
Half the agents wouldn't show up because he's not there.
He's not there.
But every day it was consistent for me. I'm like, well, it doesn't matter if he's here or not. I don't do this to get attendance.
It's a substitute teacher mentality.
Well, it's like, right? Well, if you're going there for attendance, but you're also preaching how it's A1 day one, we're out here 10 toes down, it doesn't make any sense because all it is a facade. All it is I need to show people that I do this.
Yeah.
Like, I don't give a shit. Do you think anybody cares if you show up to the office at 5:30 in the morning and you leave at 7:30 at night? No one gives a shit.
Yeah.
No one cares.
Yeah.
No one cares about any of that stuff. It's all about you. You have to be the one that has to be productive. You're the one who has to be the one to answer those questions of, did you have a complete day? Did you make your day whole?
Yeah, because you could go to the office at 5:30 and sit there till 7 for 12 hours. And what did you really do? You might not do anything.
Yeah, right. So what you
But it looks like you did, right? So
right. Well, on paper, that's what I'm saying. It's like that's what I'm saying is like, I think there has to be these influencers that we talk about, and again, they're in every aspect of the world now. They're not just digital content creators making videos. They're in real estate, they're in sales, they're in whatever form that you want to talk about. Oh, bodybuilding, they're in and they're all fucking experts, if you want to call it, like, or they quote unquote say they're experts, but really what made them an expert was they turned on a camera and learned how they trained themselves by watching someone else how to speak to someone in front of a camera, and they train that they can mimic the behavior of someone they've seen.
Yep.
And that's all it is really, it comes down to their ventriloquist dolls that someone can literally put a hand in the back of and go like this.
They're just regurgitating the same thing.
It's the same thing because you hear, all of the Grant Cardones, whoever of the world. And again, I'm not picking on Grant Cardone.
No, but he's a good example.
But he's the loudest.
Well, he's also one of the first, I think, that really, well, at least from the social media aspect, that really started the program. So a lot of people are seeing.
Because he made that YouTube show. I think
so a lot of people are following his lead now. Yeah. But no, and honestly, in fairness, the idea, and we do see more and more people talk about, you got to put in the work, you got to practice, you got to go through the reps, you got to enjoy the process. I love that. I don't think that's a bad message to send. The problem is at some point in time, we need to start focusing on telling people, look, man, just relax, because we are creating so much anxiety in this country. I mean, like people we were talking about with the parents that feel like they have to give their kids everything. Why? Because everybody's running to social media to show what they just bought for their kids. So now their kids are seeing it, they're seeing it. Then they start.
Tommy got this.
They start to feel guilt. And look, we're all guilty. We're all guilty of it to a sense and to a degree. I mean, do I write my wife nice things on social media for her anniversary? Yeah, I try not to all the time. You know what I mean? But I do. Yeah. I think social media has become the new greeting card. I really do. I think the Facebook, but I don't feel like it holds as much weight sometimes as just being like, I didn't need to tell the whole world that. I'll tell you that, honey.
But why would? And that's my thing.
But you feel like you have to, because if you don't, it's like, it's weird. I can't
Bobby
explain.
and Sue had their anniversary online, and they went Facebook Live, and he did whatever. But that, again, that's because they need that for the ultimate thing of power is actually knowing that you don't need anyone but yourself. Okay? Like, at the end of the day, if you got you got your family, that's what you got.
Yeah. Dude, I grew up an only child, so like I
think the biggest part of it is power comes from when you actually can say, oh, all I care about is the closest people to me and myself. Yeah. I don't care about what. So all of this shit that's out here, who cares? Yeah. What does it affect you? Who gives a shit? Like, what is their opinion going to do for you? Is it going to make you or break? That's what I don't understand is what. So hold on. And this is the worst part. Because let's just say somebody gets married, gets engaged, it's a I love you post, it's whatever. 90% of those people who like your shit are talking shit about you. Who are like, well, they weren't saying that when they were this.
You were spot on, dude.
And they still like it. And they're like, oh, but I support them though. It's like, what the fuck? Like,
you're spot on.
This is what's wild is there's always something but. You know what I mean? It's like, oh, good for them. But, this blah, 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 blah. Yeah. It's like, so why even go through the motions? You know what I mean? I always wonder why people go through the motions of trying to pretend to be a certain way. You know what I mean? Because for me, I don't understand that whole aspect of it. You know what I mean? Like, I don't understand the aspect of, being, I guess, you want to be a part of the cool crowd, so you like the photo, but then you're like, but I don't like this. It's like, what the fuck are we doing? Like, why are we going through the motions of all this?
Another thing is like, and I was talking to you about this the other day, like, and I was trying to actually say this in the last episode. I think we, especially the influencers, are so consumed about telling everybody what they do right. None of us are perfect. We all make mistakes. We're all part of the problem. Mr. Perfect. We all, except Mr. Perfect, except Kurt Hennig. Yeah. He was absolutely perfect. Mr. Perfect. But like, we're all part of it. So I'm always trying to say, I'm responsible for this too. Yeah. Just like I made the comment about the Ray-Bans versus the Gucci's. Like, hey, it's hard for me to tell people. Now, am I out buying toys and boats and shit? I'm pretty good about not doing that stuff. But we all have our problems. Yeah. And I think I would like to see people get online more and talk about what they can improve on, not just preaching to everybody else about, how they can improve your life. You know what I mean? Like me personally, like I was struggling for a while, like trying to figure out, like really struggling, like how to balance my life and become more organized with my family. I'm very organized at work. You know what I mean? You give me something as far as commercial real estate, I'm very organized with that. Very, much driven when it comes to making videos and stuff like that. But all of this creativity and all of this, hard work that I put into business, sometimes that pulls away from, your presence at home mentally. You know what I mean? So I've really been struggling with like, hey, I need to be more, even though I'm there, I'm at every freaking I coach all my kids' games. I take them there, but mentally present. You're mentally present, especially as a middle-aged dad and mom. It's very difficult in today's world of I need to provide, to be pulled away from those kids when you're thinking about how you're going to provide next for them. So one of the things that, I've really been struggling with is how can I be more mentally present, and that's been a big challenge. So one of the things I've been doing, and it goes back to what you always do. Yeah. I've been getting up early in the morning. Yeah. I've been taking time instead of worrying about the things that I need to do. I've been sitting back, actually meditating and really trying to give gratitude for the things I am doing right. Yeah. And kind of just breathing, calming myself down, clearing my mind out. Yeah. That monkey chatter out that Sean Kanan was talking about. Yeah. And kudos to Sean. He's actually been helping me a lot with a lot of stuff. And so, that's something that I've really been struggling with. And I think there's other people who struggle with various things. And I think it would be cool if we saw more and more people get online and talk more about owning their own faults, owning their own problems. Yeah. Saying, what can I give to the world? How can I help the world by changing some aspect of my life? But we don't see that enough. It's just, hey, look, I'm going to tell you how to make $1 million. I'm the man. Everybody wants to be the man. Yeah. Not everybody's the man. We all have our own indiscretions.
And that's where I think it, do you know what? I think
does that make any sense?
Yeah, no. I mean, if you heard an influencer talk about, I mean, here's the other side of it is, if an influencer came out and said those things, right, we would all take it as them wanting attention for that.
I know.
So it's a catch-22 sword, right? Because if they come out and be like, I just want you to know I battle depression every day, everybody would be like, oh, he's clout chasing.
And then I guess why would you listen to him if he can't?
But I mean, here's the biggest thing is, I think people are all real human beings at the end of the day.
Yeah.
And let's start treating everyone like real human beings.
Yeah.
No one's perfect. None of these influencers are perfect. None of the people that you see write these novels about how great they are, they're not. They all have their own flaws.
Yeah.
Let's everyone keep everyone on the same playing field. We're all the same. We all put our pants leg on the same way. And I think it's just important to live your life. Whatever you want to do, you don't, trust me, the grass is not where just because someone, you think the perception that you think that person has money, you don't know if they do or not. You don't know if they've leveraged everything they have to make it look like they have money.
Honestly,
right?
To be honest with you, no one. Go ahead.
And that, all I'm saying is you don't know what they're living.
Yeah.
And so people literally chase that, and then they realize when they get to the finish line, they go, "Holy shit! Like, this person's empty. This person literally gets up every morning, gets up every day to make the perception that they have money, that they're special, that they're this, and now you're like." I just wanted people to like me. You know, it's like, I just wanted to have this. And it's like, yeah, but you pissed it all away because what you didn't realize is
they weren't saving anything.
They have none of that. Yeah. They don't have their savings might be full of money. It ain't full of actual people, real life, family, friends, people that you want to be around you. Again, at the end of the day, there's one thing that all I want to do is, and this has like been a trend over 3 years, is basically I've been the anti of all the shit I talk about. Because when I first got into business, this is what you're brainwashed to do. And now I'm the complete opposite of, it is all about my family. It is all about everything. I will be present. I don't care about any of the other stuff. That's where I want to be at. Yep. And you know what? I will work hard as shit in between those lines. Yeah. From this time to this time. After that, don't text. I don't care. It is not. I know it's real estate 24/7, but guess what? We have systems in place. Yeah. You know what I mean? And that's just the point I'm making is we are.
See, I do answer the phone. If you call me at any time, I'm going to probably answer that phone.
And again, I've answered the phone on emergencies where I have to get on it. But I'm saying in terms of the simple calls that I used to just take because it's like, oh, it'll be 2 minutes. I don't do it anymore. Yeah. I'm with my family. Yeah. And that's the most important thing to me. I think I really started to value time more than money, and that's when I realized the change in how happiness was.
Well, dude, it's funny because like I talked about this actually on whiskey sessions. Like I will pay my friends especially always get on me because I'm not the handiest of guys. Yeah. I can't. Don't worry, dude. I'm not great with my hand, like as far as like
even though my dad trained me to be handy. Like
my dad's the same way.
Like he trained me to be it, and I could do it. Listen, if you push comes to shove, I'll do it. I can do it. But if you're asking if I want to do it, absolutely.
But so my friends always give me, they're like, why don't you just do this? I'm like, well, number one, I'm very OCD. Yeah. So I know that if I attempt to do something, I probably can't satisfy the quality of work that I actually wanted.
Well, just hang
and I want it done. Well, I'm getting pretty. Actually, I have a great hack for hanging photos. I'll show you after the show. Oh, it's unbelievable.
Well, because listen,
blow your mind.
Hanging a photo to me is so much anxiety because I'm like, it's not perfect.
I'm the same way. So anyhow, so number one, I'm OCD. But number two, if I pay a landscaper to do my stuff, right? I know it's going to look great. But number two, I've also bought more time because instead of me being outside, having to do all this stuff, I can take my kid to the water park. Now, this goes back to what I'm saying, right? Do I really is it really beneficial for me to take my kid to the water park, or should me and my sons be going to Walmart or wherever, buying the mulch or wherever and doing it ourselves? So then I'm spending time with them and teaching them the work ethic. Yeah. So it comes back to this, this yin versus yang, this struggle within myself of, am I doing the right thing as a father? Thinking that the water park's great. Here's all the glitter, but they're missing on the work that can lead them to the gold or whatever that is. You know what I mean?
I've started what you said. Like, it's a progression. Listen, it's weaning me off of the things that you said, because again, when you get into business, that's what they train you to say. Money is buying you more time.
Yeah.
They say that money buys you more time. Not true.
Yeah,
absolutely.
And I actually just thought about that as I was talking to you. Maybe I'm fucking up.
No, but that's the truth though. They do tell us that when they get,
no, I'm not talking about the money versus time. I'm talking about maybe I should be figuring out what I should be spending time with my kids on.
Yeah,
no, I'm saying I buy my time. I spend the money.
That's what they tell you. To be fair, again, this is what I'm saying, like programming, like when you first get into any business, any sales or business thing, what they tell you is you have to buy time. You have to leverage yourself for time. Yeah. And what buys time is money, right? So again, X equals whatever in that world. But really, it's not until you flip it.
Yeah.
Or time, you look at it and the time equals money.
Yeah.
Right? Because when you do a analysis on what's more important, working that deal this weekend that you don't know, you can say is going to close or not. There's no progression that's going to be made on a Saturday or Sunday, right? Yeah. Because banks are closed. It doesn't matter. You can work it until you blue in the face, or you put it down.
Yeah.
Come back Monday, recharge, right? But you've been with your family all weekend.
Yeah.
Now, one of those, you're going to have a life experience, and your kids will take that with you. Yeah. Your family will take that with them, right? Okay.
Another thing is people talk about legacy all the time, and it's like everybody's like worried about their legacy, and I talk about this all the time. It's like you want to be remembered for something, and it's like I think people are consumed with, they think that if they're remembered by millions of people, they're more remembered, and perhaps they are, right? But what are you taking away from your real loved ones to search for that search for that legacy? So 1 million people love you, but your own kids don't. Because you weren't there to spend time with them, because you were trying to impress everybody else, or you were trying to, you know what I mean? So there's a balance to that too that it's hard to figure out.
Wouldn't you rather a handful of people love you for who you are?
Yeah.
And to know that they ride or die,
exactly,
they are 100% there for you, than to ever have something where there's 1 million people and the closest ones to you know you the same level as the people that don't know you?
Yeah.
I mean, that's empty, dude.
Yeah.
That's an empty thing. When people are like, oh, I like them because of this, I like that person because of that, and it's all generic statements, it's like, dude, you don't even know the motherfucker. Well, because they don't allow you to get close to them, because they can't get close, because, again, they've leveraged time for money. And so when you do that, it's like, oh, yeah, I've made 75, and again, we're going to say impressions, right? Because that's what they trade in. It's impressions. It's now they became Facebook. They became the algorithm themselves. They go, I just did this. I made 900 impressions today.
Yeah.
So now to them, it's 900 new people they've been in front of, 900 new faces they've been in front, instead of the same 5 people, the same 7 people, the same whatever it is, your family, and saying, I did right by them today, right? Because, again, it's all about what you want. And I think those people, more than not, they end up alone. And when that time comes,
well, look at Michael. Look at Michael Jackson, or look at some of these big stars, for instance.
Look at Michael Jordan talking about how he has literally. I mean, he's lonely. Yeah, he has no one talks to him outside of. And
it can be a lonely world.
Well, they said. Well, what was actually sad was when they talked about celebrating the championship, and he was in his own room with his staff and his team of people, and not his teammates.
Yeah,
because it was like it was Michael and his team. Yeah, he played poker and he played this with them, but it was like he couldn't be around them.
Yeah,
and that's what was sad. It's like, damn, dude, you're like. Would you rather be a man of the people?
Yeah.
Or a man for the people, right?
Yeah.
Because a man of the people lives among the people, right?
Yeah.
The man for the people speaks for everybody but doesn't go around them.
Yeah.
Which one would you rather be? It's like, I would rather be able to be with the people around me than to be like ever be put on any kind of. I don't care about that. It's just all about what you care about. And I think social media has polluted the idea that everyone has to be an influencer. And listen, you know what I thought about too? This is a wild hot take. Remember music videos in the 90s?
Oh my God, it's so funny.
All right, so we're like, let's take you back to the music videos of the 90s, right?
Yeah.
These influencers are just like the Backstreet Boys. They're in sync. they're nowhere close to being what they have on paper, like what they portray in these videos. They don't have that, but it's because like the studios and all the money that's behind, it's pumping into them. Yeah, they have to, right? Sponsorships, all that stuff. I mean, some of these kids, I watched a documentary. Some of these kids that are influencers live in like 1-bedroom apartments, and they're eating like ramen noodles. Yeah. In LA and in New York and all this stuff, but they have sponsors that send them stuff. Yeah. But you never know. They like literally are like, I have all the lighting to make us look like this. They rent fake private jets. Man, it's a documentary on HBO. Did I tell you to watch that at HBO Max?
Fake Famous.
Fake Famous. Yeah, Fake Famous. Yeah. It's a documentary. It was literally so telling. They created 3 influencers. Yeah. And like 2 of them ended up cracking because of the pressure it took on them. They thought they wanted to be influencers, and they were like, this is too much. And then one girl literally, they were like, they got her on a half a fake plane, and they just took photos of like fake champagne. It was wild. And they were like, oh, this is just how you do things. This is what you make. And people rent those. What's crazy is when they talk about who rents them, more influencers than not don't have a private plane. They're not flying on a private plane. They're flying coach. They're flying. And I don't even know if they're flying first class because
it's like rap videos back in the day. They were all renting the stuff.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. Like if you go back to when those rappers they didn't have the money, and if they bought anything that they had on, they were broke.
See, dude. See, it's funny. See, you were just born, like so. My generation of rock and roll, the very early 90s, was the complete opposite of all this, because it was basically a segment of guys who were just making music in their garages to make music. And then they had a small scene in Seattle, and the sound was so different and so authentic because they weren't like the hair bands of the 80s talk about glitz and glamour and girls. Yeah. These guys were so raw that the music, the art just broke through. Yeah. And what happened was you had guys who were literally, they didn't know how to take this success. Yeah. They didn't know how to take it because they were like, dude, we love this. We love playing shows for 80,000 people, but they kind of got scared of it. It's like I keep talking about Pearl Jam. Like you look at them, they're a great example of, so they blew up like crazy. And what they did was they realized how fast mainstream was trying to push them through. So they said, they looked at everybody else and they were like, if we keep going on this trajectory, we're probably not going to be together as a band. We're not going to sustain a long career. Yeah. So they literally fought against anything that was popular. They were like, dude, we can make the same song over and over again and sell a million bazillion records because we know how to make music. Yeah. So they pulled back from it and said, we're going to experiment more. We're not going to tailor everything. We're going to quit making music videos. They fought Ticketmaster on ticket prices. Yeah. And so what happened was now they aren't mainstream. They actually went to the Grammys and shitted all over the Grammys. Yeah. You should hear Eddie Vedder's Grammy speech. He was like, I don't think this means anything, right? So, but now what happened was, if you look at their career, right, they're not as mainstream as they were, but they have literally the same band together for 30 years, and they have a following that follows them wherever. They'll sell out any stadium in 5 minutes. You know what I mean? So I think there's something to be said for that. Music started to change during the Backstreet Boys time.
Well, that's what I'm saying. If you look at, that's what I'm saying. Look at the influencers now, and look at like 90s music videos, rap, pop, hip hop, R&B, all of that stuff. These people are literally doing the same. It's the same formula. Yeah. They've just upgraded into a different platform where you don't have to watch a music station. Right? Well, because MTV was the biggest thing back then for kids. Well, now Facebook, Instagram is. Yeah. So now it's 24/7 instead of, well, it's like we had commercials. We had to do other entertaining programs to try to keep you in. I don't, because people provide that for you already now, right? People are providing you My Life, this, whatever this is. But then in the meantime, I'm going to slip this in, slip this in, slip this in. And so that's why I'm like, dude, influencers are the new music, like the pop stars.
But see, in the 90s, man, it was cool about talking about what you didn't have and going to literally it was cool to go to the thrift store and buy 25-cent shirts. The cheaper your shirt, the cooler it was the grunge era. And then it literally everything just completely flipped, where it was like, you want to be the number one guy, the baddest dude. You want to drink the Belvedere instead of the Smirnoff. You want to have the nice watches, and it just changed. Dude, I'll tell you what. Have you seen Woodstock 99 documentary?
Dude, that right there is a solid documentary.
That is the greatest example of what happens with that. So our generation, my generation that I grew up with, was basically the people at those shows.
Yes.
And music had changed at that point. I wasn't really into that heavy metal shit, but music had changed, and there was a lot more rage in the music.
Yeah.
And it's a great example of my generation pushing back against corporate America, trying to take advantage of them. And that's what's going to happen in this country if people don't chill out. Because I'm telling you right now, people are going to get, and it's already going on.
I mean, that thing, but that document, dude,
it was terrible.
That was a great documentary series. I mean, I don't know how anyone stayed through that.
Yeah.
Like, from day one to the end, it was a shit show from the beginning.
Literally a shit show. They were bathing in shit.
Yeah, it was like, well, the sad part is literally from the beginning, you were like, oh, this is terrible. It was like night one, and progressively as they went on, you're like, how does it get worse? And they're like, oh, we had Limp Bizkit coming on, who's the biggest artist, and they got even more. It was like people were dying, fading. It was. See,
I didn't. We didn't go because that wasn't our scene. We weren't into the mosh pits and all that shit. And a lot of the bands we liked that were more chill. A lot of the hip hop artists that we like weren't there. You know, we were more into the laid back stuff. You know what I mean? But we knew it was coming. All of us, me and all my friends were like, "What? Who did not see this coming?"
They had it on pay-per-view. They had it on pay-per-view.
Oh yeah,
and that was insane.
Yeah, that's crazy.
So as we wind down, give me 60 seconds. Give me final synopsis of today. What do you think? What will we sum it all up today?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I think
it in a nice package for us.
I don't know, man. I think we just as a society need to quit putting so much pressure on ourselves and each other, to keep up with the Joneses.
Yeah.
Love everybody for who they are, appreciate everybody for who they are, no matter what they are, who they do, or what they do, who they are, and just, have gratitude for what you have in your life. Because at the end of the day, you only got so many ticks on that heart. You only got so many breaths, and unfortunately, we're all going to not be here. So let's take advantage of the time we got, the people we have around us, and try to just value our relationships more so than chasing that dollar at the end of the day. And it's easy for me to say because I get caught up in it too. Yeah. But I think that's what everybody really needs to really try to focus on. And I'm not trying to play, G guys or any of that bullshit. It's true, man. We don't hear that enough in the messaging. What do you think?
I think that sum it all up, man. I mean, being present is probably the biggest thing I can think, and being true to whoever you are. Yeah. If you want to be a billionaire, go be a billionaire. If you want to be an influencer, go be an influencer. But always make sure you're doing it for you.
Yeah.
No matter what, make sure genuineness shines through 100%.
Yeah.
So when people know that you are really trying to help them, they understand that they can see it in your eyes. You can always see the genuineness in someone's eyes, I think. There's
authentic will always break through.
Yes. No matter what, people will feel that. They'll walk in a room and they'll say, it just feels different. He feels different.
Yeah.
It's because of that eye-to-eye contact, the way you speak about things. So my only thing is, I'm telling you from my experience of what my time is, what's important to me is my family, my loved ones, my friends.
Yeah.
But whatever is important to you, be true to that. Don't think because such and such says this is cool. Yeah. It's not. Whatever is cool to you.
Yeah.
And again, let's get back to being. Let's back away from the social peer pressure of social media of being like, you have to be this guy.
Yeah.
You don't. Be you.
Yeah.
Whatever is you, be you. And that's it.
Another thing is be very conscious about spending and waste right now. You know what I mean? If you can afford to to be more conscious about that, do it, because there are people out there struggling. And the more we spend, the higher these prices keep getting.
Yeah.
So we need to all we don't need to all work together and look at this country as a whole and as one, no matter how big and how small, and just try to be there for each other right now, because it can only get worse. And save money. People are out there preaching about you don't want to hold on to cash, and you got to put this into that. No, hold on to your cash, because if you have it and you want to invest, let me tell you right now, the opportunity is going to be a lot better if what we think is going to happen is going to happen. But that's a whole nother conversation we could have that on another show.
Yes.
But yeah.
All right. Well, let's get out of here.
All right.
Next time.
Thank you all for tuning in. We'll see you next time on Prop Culture. See you.